I want to thank you guys for tuning into the Bootz Sports Show. I'm your host, Uncle Bootz. And the Dallas Cowboys have officially found a way to ruin yet another Sunday, probably another week, by losing to the Detroit Lions 31-30 in a game that every Cowboy fan, including myself, thought it was over. But the Dallas Cowboys they're pretty good at that, figuring out how to lose another game. In any way we can, we will find that way. This Dallas Cowboy football team still sitting alone in first place. But if you watched the NFC East this Sunday, you saw a dysfunctional division, a dysfunctional Dez, and a dysfunctional Dallas Cowboy football organization. So, before I get started on that, let me first give props to the people over at yourdailycowboyfootballfix.com. Great job. Great articles. Also, the Silver and Blue Report. Check out those websites. I am going to tell you, I have no idea how this... I am furious. I will keep this professional. I do a pretty decent job at doing that, but this sucks. This sucks. Doing this, telling both you websites, all the fans out there that like this, when's the next video coming? This sucks. It sucks. It stinks. And every time I quit, every Cowboy loss, especially a loss like this, I quit. I quit. And I somehow managed to make myself back to this camera, because what you watched Sunday, and we all were clapping, game was over, we all saw Jeff Heath with the bobbled interception at the end, forced to 4 it out, and we were all celebrating, all of us, y'all were. But the Cowboys said, well, let's figure out how to let them get back in the game. But here's what was stunning about all this. Cowboy fans, I'm with you guys. I'm on all the message boards. I listen to all the radio. You guys know that. We talked about all the stuff on previous shows. Pretty much any message board that has a pulse, I'm involved in it somehow. So this is what bothered me, or was intriguing to me. I could not figure out how everybody was blaming Jason Garrett for this loss. I couldn't figure it out. And usually I'm right in sync with you guys. Like when there's a big, I'm on it. I know, oh, this guy had a bad game, or where was this guy, where was that guy? I'm usually saying, yeah, I was noticing the same thing. How come this? I couldn't figure it out. I said, what did I miss? What did I miss? Jason Garrett's got to go. Jason Garrett got to get fired. Fire Red Jesus. I mean, every message board blamed Jason Garrett, and I couldn't figure out. So I watched the game again, and then again. And of course, I was forced to watch it over and over again ad nauseum. I mean, it's just sickening to watch this game. I mean, literally. So, still couldn't figure out why Jason Garrett was to blame. And I have no problem blaming him under any circumstances. But I found other culprits that were a lot easier, to pinpoint. And honestly, y'all know I'm the biggest Tony Romo fan here. I mean, the guy has to be. Tony's like my kid. When a teacher or somebody tells me that my kid's acting up in school, I gotta, what did he do, or what did they say, or what caused it, who instigated it, or what I always try to make sure that I got all the facts first and defending, and then he's got to be caught, or she's got to be caught red-handed. So. But this case, I felt Tony did a poor job and in recognizing the defensive front and taking advantage of what they were giving him. Normally, Tony's too aggressive. This time, Tony was too conservative. The Detroit Lions were blitzing corners, blitzing linebackers, ganging everybody up on the front of the line, and we were handing the ball off. So, Dez Bryant, which we will get into, wasn't getting any looks. And most of the flows the push coming from the defense was forcing Tony to have to look to the right. Tony was having to, but we were handing the ball off and giving up downs. And those early parts of the game, the early first half of the game, if you will, we needed to throw the ball down the field. And we were sporting a 10-7 lead and, you know, having these Sean Lee miraculous, I don't say miraculous, but very good interceptions, you know, that was keeping us in a game that we really weren't in. It was fool's gold because we weren't doing anything to move the football down the field and score touchdowns. Now, you expect a kicker like Dan Bailey, who normally isn't a good long-distance kicker, hasn't been. He's been very accurate from inside 45 yards, but outside of 45, he's usually inaccurate. But he nailed some 50-plus yarders in this game that made this game look like we were doing a little bit better than we were. But Tony had to check out of some of them runs, man, and attack the defense. I wasn't sold that they could cover Dez. I never saw Cole Beasley on the field until late in the second half of the game. I couldn't figure out why Cole wasn't in there because, like we talked about, especially for people who don't know who Cole Beasley is, you know, he's a very slippery wide receiver who allows Tony to get the ball off early. I thought you'd see a lot of him in this game and a lot more empty sets because of the pass rush and checking the ball down to some guys underneath to make plays. We didn't see that. I just couldn't understand why we were forcing this run. And if you look at the run stats, they were terrible. You didn't get a lot of production from the run game. And Tony hasn't his whole career. I want to throw that out there for everybody that thinks Tony's got to do everything. Tony, he's got to win the Super Bowl. Tony's had all these chances to be great and do this. And Tony's never had a chance to win a Super Bowl. Ever. He's never had a chance. Because you need consistency from your defense and your offense and your coaching staff, and he's never had that. He's never had it. So for all these people who want to, and I'm killing Tony right now, I understand that, because I think he called a bad game. I really do. I think Dez should have been. I think some slant routes behind that blitz should have been called to Dez. I think you force it in there, you draw a pass interference call. People can't cover Dez. Now listen, Dez is not Megatron, and I'm gonna put that out there right now. And it's not a news flash, but if Dez thought he was, or if somebody thought he was, he's not. And Megatron lets you know that. Matter of fact, I'm going to cut right to, I had a problem with the tirade on the sideline. I don't have a problem with Dez wanting the football. Because everybody wants the football. We've all played. We all wanted to be running backs. The offensive line, when we played in the midgets and in high school, when the coach said, okay, all running backs over here, everybody ran over there. He said, well, everybody can't be running backs, so got to have some offensive linemen. So offensive line, nobody wanted to be an offensive lineman. Nobody wanted to be a tight end. No, few people wanted to be wide receivers. Everybody wants the football. Everybody does. Now, I'm not mad at that. What you can't do, Dez Bryant, you cannot act like you want to win. This is what my problem was. You don't want to win more than anybody else on that football team does. Well, you know what? You might want to win more than Jakar Hamilton. Guys that were on the practice squad last week that just are so happy to be in a Dallas Cowboy uniform here in the crowd for the first time. You might want to win more than that guy because he just wants to make the team first. If you think you want to win more than Jason Witten, DeMarcus Ware, Tony Romo, who has had a punctured lung, spitting up blood in a freaking bathroom somewhere, and comes back and rescues the Cowboys and we go out and beat the 49ers, if you think you want to win more than that guy, then you need to learn something about real life football. Because you don't want to win more than them guys. You don't want to win more than Sean Lee. I guarantee you don't. I guarantee you don't want to win more than Jason Hatcher, who had to sit here on this football team and be told for 5 years who he isn't and what he can't do, and now he's got an opportunity, the one opportunity at 31 years old, and he's making 7 sacks, making his name, putting out there with the best defensive tackles in the league after hearing for years and years and years and years what he couldn't do. You don't want to win more than him. So don't get on that sideline and act like you are holier than thou, because you're not. You're not. You're not. Nobody wants to win more than anybody, than any starter, than any good player in the National Football League. And you can take that to the bank. You can take it right to the bank. And you might take it to another team soon. Because the last time I saw these type of actions, and let me tell you something. You're wearing the number 88 on your back. And he wasn't perfect. And I remember all the negative things that people don't talk about when they talk about Michael Irvin's Hall of Fame career. But you're acting like 81. And 81, Terrell Owens, was a guy who did those things on the sidelines. And if you were smart, Dez, the first thing you would do, and if the person on the other line had learned his lesson, number 81, you would call Terrell Owens and you would say, T.O., what am I doing wrong? If Terrell Owens was smart, he would tell you, if I could do it all over again. That's what he would tell you. He would say, son, if I could do it all over again, I would have never done that. I would have never bit the hands that fed me. Because nobody's feeding his broke ass now. That's what would have been told to him. You're going to end up, because you have very similar characteristics. You have very similar characteristics. Just like Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens was a great player. Dez Bryant is a great player. T.O. thought he was the only one that needed the ball. Because everything goes through me, we win. Football ain't about that, man. It's not about that, and it's never been about that. See, I'm going to tell you something. You want to aspire to be, if you really want to aspire to be, go look at what Megatron did. His quarterback played crappy. His running backs fumbled the ball. Megatron willed his team to victory. That's what he did. You watched it happen. You watched it happen. You watched him will his team to victory. That's what the great ones do. See, the good ones, they do what you did on the sideline. The great ones do that. You don't have to ask for the ball when you're great. The ball finds you. If that is what you should aspire to be. That man took, and you never see rarely do you see wide receivers put the team on their back and take themselves to victory. That's what a good wide receiver does. You're not that. Now, I don't know as far as who can fight on the down. I don't know who's a fighter on the team. I don't know who's tough and who's this and who's that. I mean, Jason Witten doesn't look like he plays around too much. But I know Jason Hatcher, the other Jason, I know he's 6'5", about 3-something. You want to make sure that you standing next to Tony Romo with all this garbage when this stuff goes down. Because if we start losing and Dez is acting like that and I'm on the football team with him and I'm Jason Hatcher, I'm punching Dez in the mouth. That's right. That's exactly what I'm doing. If we're losing our season and this is going on, he's got to get dragged into a corner and somebody got to get a hold of this because it was a distraction. If I was distracted watching the game and the announcers were distracted calling the game, don't you think the players and the play callers were distracted? Think about it. You saw Tony Romo sitting on the sideline going over film. Going over plays, calling plays with the coach. Dez should have been involved in that. But he wasn't because they were too busy trying to mute out Dez and have a conversation. And if you think it's easy to do that, go pick up a phone, go make an important phone call, and have your child or have somebody sitting here arguing and screaming with you while you're on the phone. And I already know the answer to that. You can't. And neither could this football team down the stretch. They could not concentrate. They could not focus. So you can blame who you want to blame. But I've got some candidates to blame. I got some. So I noticed, like I said, I don't know. I was upset watching this. Very upset. I watched the game a few times. Very, very upset. You cannot act like you want to win more than somebody else. It's okay to prove to everybody that you want to win, but do it on the field. Will the ball to you. Get open earlier. Do what Calvin did. And I told you guys in the previous show, there's a lot of comparisons to Dez and Calvin. And Dez didn't have an awful game, considering he only got 3. I think he got 6 targets the whole game. That was it. But will the ball to yourself. Get open in the route earlier. Don't have tirades on the sideline. Now, if Tony's in these coaching sessions with these coaches and he's doing this Peyton Manning type, input, Dez needs to be... Now, this was disappointing to me. Dez needs to be there with them in these sessions. But what was disappointing to me on the sideline is there has to be a communication between the quarterback and the wide receiver. I needed to see that one shot from television where Tony, and not patting each other on the back after the touchdown. I don't need to see that. I need to see them sitting down, like counting on their fingers, like, well, if they got 3 over here and then they run this and they run. I need to see that type of talk and carrying the one and all that. I need to see that. I didn't see it. That's a problem. And this team has had a history of not handling distractions. Good teams, great football teams, the best Dallas Cowboy football teams that played couldn't handle distractions. We could have won 8 Super Bowls, but there were distractions. Could have won in 2007. But there were distractions. That's my quarterback. Remember that? Remember the trip to Cabo? Introduce those distractions to this football team. This is a fragile unit. If you think that front line that you've seen, and we don't know the names of these guys, well, you don't know their emotion levels either. They haven't been tested because they weren't working last year. Let this start to become a distraction. Let it become a distraction and then watch and see where we're at. You're in first place in this division. I'm in the division. And I'm already starting to hear the cackles out here at the Giants are coming. Because the Giants ended up beating the Freeman kid in Minnesota. Can't remember the kid's first name. That's how bad he was. And Josh Freeman. And they got a nice win over Matt Barkley and the Eagles. So the Giants are coming. They're getting going. Woo! Now let me ask you this, because the media, they're going to start talking about it too soon. If the Giants got a shot at the playoffs with 2 wins, because all you need to do is win 2 to get in apparently. Just win 2 games. 2 games. Go 2-6 and you got a shot. How come the Cowboys don't have a shot at 4-4? And all you guys that are pro-rating, because I seen this on these message boards. Everybody's pro-rating. Well, the Cowboys are 4-4, so if you carry the 1 and then you cross out this, then that means they'll be 8-8. Another 8-8 season. Jason Garrett's got to go. Well, if you want to prorate the Cowboys' record, then prorate everybody else in the division's record too. Because if 8-8 wins me the division, I'm okay with that, with a division crown. I'm okay with that. If it guarantees me the division. Stop with all this prorating stuff. It's 1 game at a time. I don't get involved with who we got down the road. I don't care about that. That'll take care of itself. But what you cannot have is what I saw. This has to be bottled up. You go out there, you earn your paycheck, you fight tooth and but if I'm Tony Romo, I'm going to send Dez a copy of my x-rays from when my neurothorax, whatever that doctor-related injury was, a punctured lung, broken ribs. I'm sending him a copy of my x-rays. I'm not even saying nothing to him. That's what I do. Everybody worried. I keep seeing everybody saying, oh, well, Tony's going to get killed behind this offensive line if they don't. Man, Tony is tough. It's got to be broken, separated, dislocated. It's got to be that, or he's playing. Dez is the one, he's the one who can miss games with a finger. He's the guy who can twist his ankle and Tony ain't doing that. So, this was and I didn't even start talking about the defense yet. We didn't even talk about the defense. The whole game plan. I'll give you the first half, Kiffin, okay? Because Kiffin's on his way out too. This is a disaster. And you know what? I don't care what I've seen last week and the week before. This was a disaster. Disaster. The quarterback almost threw for 500 yards. 500 yards. You almost had a quarterback throw for 500. So you had Peyton Manning throw for 400. Phillip Rivers threw for 400. Eli Manning threw for 400. I need somebody to do some research, one of you guys, because we all family here, How many playoff team defenses have given up 400 and 500 yard passes at a clip like that? I just want to know. But Kiffin, this ain't working, man. I'm sorry. I don't know if maybe he don't got maybe he doesn't have the talent on the field, because that front line didn't get any push this week like it did last week. It didn't. Detroit Lions front line blocked our guys. I mean, if Jason Hatcher didn't get that sack, I was screaming, where the hell is Hatcher the whole game? If he didn't get that one sack, I didn't see him the whole game. So they did a good job on him. They did a real good job. And that's a revamped offensive line. That's a revamped everybody went. They had a fire sale. Everybody went on that line. And they blocked the Cowboys. We got a little bit of injuries. And look, some of these plays that you saw that no fan of football, Cowboy fans know, but no fan of football understands what happened on that Chris Durham play. We did not have any of our starting safeties in there. And that's part of football. I'm just saying, when I looked at it, I wonder why Jakar Hamilton, who was the first time I seen him in any game, he was on a practice squad the whole year. Well, apparently Barry Church got hurt. So that brought him in. Jeff Heath, he was hurt. Danny McCray came in. There was a lot of moving parts out there in the secondary. Claiborne got hurt. He was starting to play pretty well, but he got hurt. So you saw some B.W. Webb, who to me didn't look bad at all. Actually looked pretty good. Might have to look real good because he might be playing. Could be starting. So when you saw, and I saw these posts too, Orlando Scandrick is a bum. That play, and I believe Jakar Hamilton tweeted that was his responsibility and it was bad and he'll work real hard and never happen again. I thought I saw something like that. But Scandrick wasn't even supposed to be trailing him. Like, it looked like Scandrick was in man coverage, but he was in cover two, played zone there, and the safety just didn't get over. And if you watch the route, when I watched the route live on television, I said Scandrick played that like he thought, like he was passing him off to the safety, because he ran and then chilled out, slowed down, and then it looked like he realized that there was no safety there, and he tried to run himself back into play. So, for all these guys that are killing Scandrick on that, that wasn't his responsibility there. That was a safety that if he was in the right spot, he gets popped. And the kicker of that, the guy got out of bounds. Even if Hamilton got there late, keeping him in bounds, the clock would have still been running. So, but anyway, we got some injuries too. Got beat up in there. Brian Waters, he had 3 injuries out of that game. So he kept getting carted out, brought back in. You'll see some Mackenzie Bernardo for the next couple weeks. I think he something in his back of his quad or something, tore something. I don't know what Brian Ward, what happened to him? He's not in there, so he won't be in there for the next couple of weeks, from what I understand. So, hopefully Barry Church and Claiborne will be back in the game for us in the future. But looks like Claiborne might have a torn hamstring or something. So, Cowboys are getting beat up right now. These injuries are starting to pile up. We got to do something about this running game. The worst words I saw after the game was Jerry Jones, and he's got to chill out. He's been doing a lot of talking. He throws out at the game, well, Murray could have played. But why would you even say that after the game, that Murray could have played? If Murray was hurt. Like, why would you say that after the game? Like, oh, well, he could have played. Well, let's just put him back in, and then now we take the stats away and put his stats in, and oh, we won the game. What is saying Murray could have played? What does that do for you? What are you saying? Are you saying that he was supposed to play, but Jason Garrett said no? Like, what are you really saying? So, Murray obviously will play, and I think that the Cowboys took a risk here. I think Ware could have played. I think Murray could have played, both of them. I expected them to play. And the Cowboys were without 4 starters. I think they thought they could beat the Lions with those guys missing. And they were wrong. And I didn't get my last culprit out. That Tyron Smith hold, the call, whatever. That, for the folks that don't know, because when I saw that happen, if that call doesn't get called, we run the clock out. They got 30 seconds and no timeouts. And they needed a touchdown. But that hold stopped the clock, because I saw some on the message boards, people wondering why did the clock stop? Why did the clock stop? Well, on that penalty, inside of 5 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever it is, if there's a penalty, the clock stops. And it's funny because when I watched it live, I said, they're declining that holding call. And then I said to myself, why wouldn't every offensive lineman in a situation like that where they're trying to run out the clock hold on 3rd down? Every lineman hold, because the defense has to decline the penalty because they don't want them to get another down. I said, well, why wouldn't they do that? I was saying that during the game. I said, why wouldn't they just all hold in? Since they're going to decline the penalty, then you're guaranteed the 1st down. The reason why they have that rule in there, if a penalty happens by the offense, the time is stopped. That's why you don't hold there. And that's why Tyron Smith should not have held under any circumstance, because you're not trying to gain yards. You're trying to work the clock. The clock is your enemy now, not the team. You don't care if he gets tackled for -6 yards. Matter of fact, you hope he does, because that takes more time off the clock. But unfortunately, we held there, and that gave them that holding call gave them the game, literally. So this stat killed me when I saw this stat come up on the screen, and every single last one of you thought this too, had to, because you know how the Cowboys do. Teams are 1-54 with a -4 turnover ratio. 1-54. So what were you thinking? We got this? Or were you thinking the Cowboys? Because the Cowboys are always the team to put that number in the opposite side of the ledger. And I said, you know what? That was the stat that doomed us. It was. Because the Cowboys always find a way. Always. Whether it's a field goal kicker who's never made a... You always hear that. You know he's making it. Because the Cowboys always find a way. But anyway. I feel like this video was now kind of therapeutic. So I got to, give y'all back some love. Because it kind of got it out of me a little bit. And I apologize if it's not exactly what you were looking for. Because I tried my best not to... I just try to give you the business and get out of here. But I had to. I was pissed off when I saw that tirade from Dez. I hope this gets cleaned up. I really does. Cowboys still are in first place. Cowboys got the Minnesota Vikings this week. I mean, this should be a. I ain't gonna say it because that 1 in 54 stat just popped up again. So I don't want to. We don't want to do that. But listen, I know my brother's happy. If you watched my last video, he's a Detroit Lions fan, so I know he's happy. Much love to him this week, and we'll keep it moving from there. Guys, I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. I'm gone.